Now at heavyweight, John Devine and Steve Vetsch. Steve Vetsch has had some super matches this year. He defeated Andy Cope of Iowa State 4-3. And it was Steve that we were talking about when Lehigh wrestled against Iowa. He tied Iowa's Brooks Simpson 2-2, and when we did a replay on that, Larry, he won that, because he did have a legitimate takedown that the official did not call. Steve's knees were in bounds, and he really should have won that one. So,
but we don't have replay.
But we don't have replays, and nobody asked for it. We couldn't offer it up. But nevertheless, considering then Steve Vetsch has defeated an Iowa State heavyweight and really did defeat an Iowa heavyweight, and that's not bad for a season. Record 9-11-2.
Devine is from Mount Laurel, New Jersey, and placed 5th last year at the Easterns in heavyweight. Last year, of course, it was known as the unlimited class, but this year there is a limit on the weight. You cannot weigh more than 275 pounds, and there's also a minimum. You must weigh at least 177 pounds.
Thank goodness, because otherwise poor Mike Ekberg might find himself up there.
But that, by the way, that limitation isn't to any other class, and I think they ought to consider it. In high school, you cannot wrestle more than 2 weight classes above your weight, and that's the safety factor. So they say that a senior in high school, there's a takedown, senior in high school could possibly get hurt if he weighs 134 and goes up and wrestles 157. Well, 1 year later, do the possibilities and probabilities change to take a college freshman at 134 and put him in at 190? No, they don't. So I really think the Rules Committee ought to give this some thought. That should be, everybody has to weigh in, clothes on, without clothes, and could you imagine sending somebody in at 118 against Kelly? Send him out the door in a box. So it's a good high school rule that the college coaches should take a hard look at. It's the end of my philosophy lesson for the night, show. Vetsch trying to shoulder out, goes around the back and gains a reversal.
I tell you, who really enjoyed that was Peter Yazzo. Peter just burst out.
Yeah, he's really getting a big
down there on the bench. He's got a smile from ear to ear when he saw Vetsch make that move. He's more than just a great wrestler. Yazzo is really a great stimulus to action. And let's look at this, Larry. Here's this move.
He does the shoulder roll right here. Does a kick. Now, this goes right around the back.
And we're dealing with heavyweights here. I mean, I tell you, Vetsch is...
Well, we're going to ask the Naval Academy. Maybe they didn't get some federal grant, but I want to kid Coach Perry that the uniform says unlimited. So take up a collection and give him one that says heavyweight, because the rules have changed. It's no longer unlimited. So if you look at the Navy shirt, it says UNL on the back. Wrestling Committee, NCAA Wrestling Committee. The chair is Bob Bubb, who's at Clarion. And of course, he's got Dave Adams, former coach of Pitt, now at the University of Akron. A lot of people said, what happened to Dave Adams? Well, he grew a mustache, went to the West Coast, and then came back to the University of Akron. You see the time remaining in the first period. No change of position, and there's the heavyweight. Four seconds remaining.
4 seconds to go in the second period. We're tied at 2.
Devine wrestled at Holy Cross High in Mount Laurel.
A lot of good action in this heavyweight bout as both Navy's John Devine and Lehigh's Steve Vetsch doing a good job out there.
Set it back in the corner there. Assistant to the assistant coach, Bill Fulmer, with his coat on, ready to run out the door.
Vetsch trying to do that roll again, nearly ends up in his back. He did that last time, but he didn't quite get all the way through this time. But now he goes in deep on that leg, countered by Johnny Devine.
He could end up in a stalemate if he doesn't drive forward, but he got to throw his body weight over, particularly his left leg. That'll be a stalemate.
Vetsch tried to roll completely through that last time and just couldn't quite get all the way through as he did the first time when he got the escape.
Mentioned Quakertown High School earlier, Shell, when I said they lost it to North Penn. But Quakertown can be proud of the fact that it has a grad now on the Navy team. Speaking about Chris Fraticelli, former Quakertown High is listed at 134. Fraticelli wrestled at Quakertown, now down at the United States Naval Academy. Now it's 3-2. In favor of Steve Vetsch, former Blair Academy wrestler. Saratoga Springs, New York is his hometown.
Vetsch leading 3-2. Minute to go in the second period.
Put in the leg and gaining a takedown.
4-3. Devine.
And according to the National Wrestling Coaches Association poll, which was just taken, and it's one that really doesn't have any bias with respect to where you're from. They rank Penn State as #1, Bloomsburg 2, Bloomsburg 8, Clarion 10, Pittsburgh 13, Edinburgh 14, Lehigh 16. And those 6 schools, as the bout is tied, are all from the state of Pennsylvania, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. As I said earlier, Pennsylvania has 6 of the top 20 schools in the country. Penn State leading, and Bloomsburg, Clarion, Pittsburgh, Edinburgh, and Army. And Edinburgh and Lehigh go at it. Excuse me, Lehigh, not Army. God forbid I should say Army when I'm talking Pennsylvania to the Academy people.
I think an interesting statistic is that a school maybe not known for wrestling like Northwestern is 17th in one poll, 20th in another, and 11th in another, and Lehigh is rated ahead of Northwestern in your National Wrestling Coaches Association. So I think, who you wrestle still has a lot to do with it.
4-4 tie, and the second period just about ready to end.
Period ends. I think who you wrestle ought to have everything to do with it.
Well, it's really decided as to, they tinker with, like Penn State's rank 1, Oklahoma State's 2, Iowa State's 3, and Iowa's 4. And that's based on relative dual meet battles. But at the end of the year, whoever wins the NCAA tournament on number of points.
Okay, no problem. It took a little while to get on. We'll reset. You got to get a little.
I remember a couple of seasons ago when everybody was jumping up and down as to who was the national #1 football team. This was not the year Penn State was ranked #1. They did a calculation and found that by far Florida State played the toughest schedule of anybody in the country, and they didn't get any higher than 5th that season, based on their opponents.
Easy escape goes to Devine, and the junior from the United States Naval Academy leads now by 1 point.
You really have to hand it to Coach Lorenzo and the great people at that Penn State wrestling program, Larry. Up to a few years ago, Penn State really had difficult times in wrestling.
Well, the 80s, starting in the early 80s, they decided to go at it as Vetsch makes a move and doesn't do much with it. But Devine counters and gets the 2-point takedown. And now has a 3-point lead with 1:24 left. Vetsch not moving quickly enough. Countered nicely by Devine. Lehigh has wrapped up this meet, the dual meet, 22-13 for Navy right now. The most they could get is 6 points here, and that would be 19. So as we said, the early victories at Hartman, Epperly, Frick, and Yazzo, winning 4 in a row, got Lehigh off to the start, and Navy just wasn't able to overcome it. And I think the biggest surprise in that battle in the first 4 was Frick's victory over Treaster.
Absolutely. Had a lot to do, I think, with the caliber.
Take 3 points away from Lehigh, they'd have 19. And give 3 to Navy, they'd have 16, and we have a battle. So I feel Jim Frick was a hero. They all gave their share, but Jim's victory is considered an upset and was the key to Lehigh's victory against Navy.
Tying up, nobody doing much.
Time advantage will not be a factor.
Trying to make a move is Vetsch, but he cannot do it. 25 seconds to go.
I want to say hello to John Coppage, who's still the AD down at the Academy. I know John, a friend of my dad's, at late Billy Sheridan. And I remember him when I was a youngster. Was a great grappler for the Academy. And there's a point against Navy at the buzzer.
7-6 final score. Give Vetsch 1 more point. And with that, Lehigh University has defeated Navy by a score of 22-16. And it really was a team effort all the way.